All right. So, welcome everybody to the Be Live on Air show. I'm your host, Dr. Elo, and we have amazing people in today. We got Tony. Let me put your name here, Tony Ilecostas, right? Is
Yeah,
that
there you
correct?
go.
Whew.
Listen, there are other people that butchered it way worse. So
I was like,
I'll give you an A+ on that one.
we got KM Robinson, and well, of course, myself, right? And we're gonna be talking about using AI content. Should you do it? Right? We're gonna have a great discussion on AI. And before we start, I want to make sure that everybody sign up for Be Live. This is the platform that we're using right now. It is free. Here you have the link right here, which I'm gonna put in the comments. So you guys can make it easier. Just click on it and subscribe to sign up for free and use the software, which is pretty amazing. And we have a couple people here already. We got Be Live, of course. We got Patricia, which is behind the Be Live. I thank you so much, Patricia. Thank you for being here. We got also Grant Sanders, which I know KM, you know him very well, right?
I do.
And I don't know, Tony, if you know him, but he's one of our creators as well. He's amazing. And we love purple. We're very serious about our purple. Let's put it that way. All right. We got Isabel Gapaz. Isabel from Hello Everybody. And let's see who else we got. All right, we got a bunch of people here, so let's start the show. So we're gonna start first with a little intro from KM Robinson, and then we're gonna jump to you, Tony, if you don't mind. Just
Absolutely.
your 3 minutes of fame. Tell us what you do, what you're all about, and we'll start off with obviously ladies first, right? So KM, go ahead.
Hey, everybody, I'm Kayam Robinson. I'm a social media marketing educator and speaker. I help entrepreneurs to save time and effort creating their social media content so that you can get back to running your business and living your best life while still creating easy content and being more profitable online. I'm also a multi-time best-selling fiction author. So if you need a little bit of an escape from your business, I got you covered with the great stories as well.
Amazing, man. It's like I've heard that before. I don't know.
If you didn't see last week's episode, go watch it.
Oh, exactly. Thank you so much. That was great. So we got Tony Ilicostas. So go ahead, Tony. It's your
Uh,
3 minutes of fame.
yeah, absolutely. So, hey, everybody, I'm Tony Costas. I kind of have like a life of Batman in the sense that I have a daytime job and a nighttime job. So, by day, I am the senior manager of ABC News Rights and Clearances. I provide support for our news programs in terms of licensing photos and videos for our news broadcasts. But by night, I put on my bat call, and I'm an adjunct professor of entertainment law and IP at New York Law School. And I also have an Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube account called The IP Professor that is about to turn about 2 years old come April of this year, that I've used as a platform to educate everyday people on IP. And, a lot of people may not realize that intellectual property truly is all around us in the movies we watch, the music we consume, and the technology that we use every single day. So certainly this is a really worthy conversation because AI is just in the forefront right now, big hot topic issue. And as you can imagine, a lot of IP issues associated with it. So very excited for today's discussion about artificial intelligence.
Thank you so much, Tony. And welcome, you guys. I'm very excited because I am an AI user. I actually use AI for a bunch of content creation stuff. Obviously, I don't use it for work or anything else, just strictly for AI to get ideas, to get my mind running a little bit to see if I can. Obviously, those creator uses are not always there, right? Like a day like today, it's been raining all day. I don't know. It's really hard for me today to create something. So AI is always there to help, but there's a bunch of disclaimers for it as well. So let's start today with using AI in live streaming. I'm going to target these questions to KM Robinson, but please, Tony, jump in on the legal side as well. And we'll start with the first one. So, as a professional live streamer, an expert content creator, are you currently using AI in any of your processes?
You know, AI is all around us. There are so many opportunities to be using AI, and I really think it's important to talk about the legal side, which Tony is going to keep us covered on today, because there are right ways and wrong ways to be implementing it into your business. I am using it to generate ideas. I am also using it to edit some of my videos in a very small capacity. If I happen to misspeak in one of my live streams, I can take clips of my videos, put it into an AI, and have it just change one single word or two single words that I misspeak, so that when I'm repurposing that content, I am able to use it with the correct words without having to try to figure out how to match myself inside of that video. I'm using it in BeLive to help pick the comments that I'm going to be showing on screen so that I don't have to read all the comments coming in the chat. I'm using it in various ways to make sure we're building up what we're doing without encroaching on that legal side. Tony, can you tell us a little bit about some of those legal ramifications?
Yeah, so I think what Cam is illustrating here is highlighting how, and Dr. Elo alluded to it too, I think at this point is pretty much Wild Wild West, where I feel that people can skirt around the legal issues by using it more as a resource as opposed to the standalone way to create content to do things. The main issue with artificial intelligence right now is, one, from a copyright point of view. If I went to an AI art generator and I asked it to create a painting of, Michael Scott juggling, balls while eating a baguette or something, something wacky, that AI generated artwork, yes, the software creates that artwork, but under the basic tenets of copyright law, who is the owner? Because the U.S. Copyright Office, copyright law, case law has made it very clear that there is a human authorship requirement that is imperative when you're making original works of authorship.
Wow.
And so AI generators lack that. There is no human entity that's involved in that process. And we haven't even gotten into the weeds of, okay, if AI generates artwork and they can own it, well, what about the enforcement of rights? What if somebody infringed on AI generated artwork? How can they go after somebody else for infringement? And then we're not just talking about AI from an art point of view, but you can go to ChatGPT and you can ask ChatGPT to drop a whole script if you want to for a film television show. Where is it getting that information from? Is it sourcing from somebody else who wrote that and made the material elsewhere? So it's a multi-layer argument. But right now, if I had to categorize the issue with AI, it has not been clearly addressed. I think you can infer the issues with copyright law, but it's not been clearly addressed in the context of copyright law. And that's where you get into very, very dangerous territory.
Now, I have a follow-up question. This is my question. Sorry, Lala, but this is a good question. I'm telling stories to our content creators. I can follow the content, But, so is the creator of the software the author?
So that's a great question also. We really don't know. Sometimes the terms of service in a website can lay out that by you agreeing to even open an account, maybe you could become you're consenting to certain terms, and maybe some of those terms would include that technically you're the copyright owner. But even then, you question it because you're using certain software to have an algorithm, to have a specific mechanism do the work for you. You're not really lifting a finger. And actually, this is the dispute of a massive lawsuit right now that just started earlier this month between Dr. Stephen Thaler against the U.S. Copyright Office. Dr. Stephen Thaler last year tried to register AI-generated artwork for like a garden and train tracks that he had used software for. The Copyright Office denied it. The Copyright Office argued that human authorship is a requirement to get copyright registration. And even with some involvement, like telling the software what to do, that does not qualify as substantial human involvement to warrant getting copyright registration. So Dr. Thaler is suing the Copyright Office, saying that technically what the AI generated software did is an assignment where the AI created the work for him, and now it's assigning copyright ownership, which is such a bonkers argument to make. I'm just saying flat out, you don't even need to know the law. That's like me saying that if I let's say pumped gas in my car, that because I'm pumping gas in my car, like Hyundai is going to be responsible if like I'm responsible if like, let's say something happens to my Hyundai or whatever. It's like, it's such a weird cockamamie argument that just makes no sense whatsoever. 2 and 2 is just not adding up here.
The robots are taking over.
Oh my God, please.
Oh God.
And now that's gonna haunt me in my dream.
Bad joke, bad joke.
I'm gonna see copyright symbols, and it's gonna be like floating around in my head, and then that voice is gonna emerge, and then I'm gonna wake
I
up.
got a better one. It's a small robot.
The robots are taking over.
All right, I'll take that one. That's a little better.
All right, so let's jump into the next one. So, what AI tools are the most popular for content creators and live streamers today? Which you already said one of them, but go ahead, KM.
Well, we're seeing people use it in a lot of different ways. Many people are using it to generate some of their copywriting, which of course we have to be very careful of legally, but they're also using it to generate content ideas. So topics and bullet points that they can be using inside of their live streams, inside of the content that they're creating. We're seeing people use programs like I was talking about earlier, where you can take your live streams, take a section of it or the entire thing and put it into a program, which will then transcribe everything that you said in that live stream. And then you can go in and from that text transcription, you can change one or two words and have it replace it with your voice with the word that you actually meant to say.
Wow.
AI can help you to grab comments from your live streams, which people are using in massive amounts here on BeLive, because then they don't have to spend all of their time and effort getting distracted, reading all of the comments and trying to find the right ones. The assistant will actually do the work for you and enable you to then engage with your audience in a new way. So people are typically leaning toward their transcriptions, toward their copywriting, which again, we have to be incredibly careful on. We are seeing a lot of people use it to help edit their videos and to help manage things like their comments coming in on their social platforms.
That's amazing. What are you, Tony?
So I would say ChatGPT has become like a really big hotbed AI software out there. Dolly, I know, is another one that's kind of an extension from the same creators of ChatGPT. But I'm going to be honest with you, you'd be surprised at how much software is out there that is found in your phones right now. I casually use VideoLeap for my video editing for my TikTok and Instagram Reels, and there's a feature now where you could create AI generated artwork on PhotoLeap based on a description of whatever you have. And listen, I'm not gonna be a hypocrite. I did use their AI generated software artwork for my final exam for my entertainment law students last semester. I asked it to create a photo or a rendition of Mickey Mouse in a lab coat hitting the bong.
Wow.
And I did that to prove the point that it's a bit problematic. And even from, again, sorry to stress it, but the legal point of view, you tiptoe in this gray area of you asking AI generated software to make something for you. When does something become blatant infringement versus something that could qualify as fair use? Now, in my context, for using that AI generated artwork, I had it where a rapper was using that AI generated artwork as album art, and the whole album was designed to be a criticism of corporate America and its like greed and culture. And so, the question that I pose for my students is, could that use of AI generated artwork of Mickey Mouse hitting the bong, could that qualify as fair use, as a commentary or criticism? That is one of the exceptions under the fair use argument, the fair use doctrine, which fair use operates as a defense to copyright infringement.
Wow.
And if it's not, argue for why it is copyright infringement. So again, great resources, great tools, but very, very murky territory once you start fiddling around and doing something that could be not so kosher, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, we're right in the middle. Right in the middle of everything developing. So we're in a gray area basically right now, which is kind of it's kind of weird, but
and I think one thing I think I want to stress also is it's innovative, and I think we shouldn't dismiss what its capabilities are. It's going to change the world.
Oh, yeah.
I just think that it caught up way too fast and we didn't know how to respond to it, at least the legal community for sure. So because of that, we're compensating it with basically like freaking out like the Mr. Krabs meme where it's all blurry. And now we're trying to, come with this moment of reckoning. How from a legal perspective, do we allow AI software, which does create a great degree of flexibility for people? How can we have AI out there while also not violate anybody else's intellectual property rights? There's that massive juxtaposition that we just haven't solved just yet, and it's probably going to take years until we get to that point.
That sweet spot in between what's yeah, how to behave with it, how to deal with it, how to use it, how to not abuse it.
Right.
But yeah, there's a bunch of stuff, which is wow. So before I head up to the other question, I have a little bit of a write up that I had, right? So you can understand more of the question. So here's the question on KM. So we have AI writing assistants, which I think could help with creating topics and agendas for your live streams. And then we also have comments assistants like the Be Live has, right?
Mhm.
So what other advantages does using AI for content creation provide, especially for live streaming? And I have a follow-up question to that one, which is going to tell you which are the disadvantages. So,
Sure. Well, when it comes to advantages, it is helpful to save time and to save a little bit of your brain power, especially if we are using it to locate topic ideas or to see what other people are going to be discussing in this space, because AI is really just scouring the internet to see what other people are doing. And it kind of gives us this amalgamation of everything out there and gives us that average of what people are talking about. So it's really good for creating those topics of discussion, for knowing what direction we could potentially be talking in. It's going to save us that time. It's going to save us that effort. And with things like the comment assist, it's going to prevent us from having to look over to the side of our screen and try to figure out what people are saying as things are coming in. So it's saving us a lot of effort and allowing us to then further engage with our audience without that added distraction and having to do two things at once while you're hosting and monitoring those comments. So it's going to be very helpful to us in that realm of being able to save time and effort and kind of level up what we're doing by having it do some of that work for us.
that is pretty cool. What about you, Tony?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can't dismiss, like I said earlier, how innovative AI is. It is groundbreaking what it's capable of doing. I mean, it's to the point where for video, which it's still in the works, I wanted to see what AI was capable of doing. So I went to ChatGPT and I asked it in the style of Eminem to create a rap about having uh, having chili peppers over regular bell peppers, and what it created, the rhyming scheme is almost eerily identical to what you would typically find in an Eminem
Wow.
song. And then to think that I could take that and go to UberDuck, which is another AI software, and have it recitate in the form of Eminem exactly his voice like that, because there's a special feature on UberDuck where you can have a voice emulator to the style of whatever rapper you have, and it's eerily again very similar. So the capabilities certainly with what AI can do is pretty fascinating, because I think what Cam was talking about is pretty on point. It's you do save brain power. It does promote, I think, a great. It may allow you to spark maybe a degree of creativity on your own, in the sense that if you just have writer's block, which everybody does, you
Exactly.
could just go to it and it could give you an idea of what you want to do. It's just that I think that we have to be careful with how we're using and maybe even abusing that AI software, because if you start using it as a replacement to natural human creativity,
Yeah.
and then that's when it becomes more problematic than anything else.
So is this a collage of everybody's mind out there and turn it into your own? Is that what I'm?
It's pretty crazy to think that that's possibly how AI is working out there. I mean, ChatGPT is a chat box, so it's not relying on the internet necessarily to get its information to put it out there. But then you have to think to yourself, how did the creators of ChatGPT then otherwise get that information? They had to pull from somewhere, likely the internet. So, and it's ongoing. It's constantly going and going and being replicated with new information, and just it's an ever evolving machine that quite literally an ever evolving machine. And it probably is relying on the brain trust of a lot of people. So
Yeah.
if I were to type in draft me a template for a photo and video license agreement, what's not to say that it's pulling that sample from, let's say, another lawyer out there who has a template shop and just reworked it to be its own product, if you will. So it is very possible that it's not necessarily reading minds, but it is pulling information from other people.
Hopefully not from Wikipedia, right?
Yeah, no,
Because not
hopefully not.
not a good source where you can get your information, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
what are the disadvantages of using AI, and how content creators avoid negative feedback if they use AI?
So,
Like
I
me,
mean,
Cam.
Cam, do you want to take it?
Oh no, go ahead.
Okay, no, I was going to say, I think we kind of really hit the head on the nail there. It's just been the issue with AI is right now, it's such a gray area with any lack of guidance. Now, will that change? Yes, for sure. The Thaler case that I just mentioned earlier, that he's bringing before the against the U.S. Copyright Office, will give us a sense of how AI is regarded in the eyes of the Copyright Office, certainly from a copyright point of view more broadly. But then number two, when you're using AI software right now, let's say you're using PhotoLeap to create AI generated artwork, or DALL-E, or ChatGPT. Actually, let's use ChatGPT for a moment. If I were to type in, write me a script for a film, television show, whatever, and then it pulls it up, and then I follow it up with the question, who is the owner of this? Who is the copyright owner? The AI software will say, I'm the copyright owner. And the fact is, it's not. It's not whatsoever. So it's even misinformed on its own terms of who can be the copyright owner or something like that. So that's the glitch in the machine right there. So it's great. I'm not going to dismiss it. It's something I could never even fathom. Listen, it's even a struggle for me to even come up with a good email these days because my head is flying at 1,000,000 miles an hour.
All right.
But what AI is able to do is itself impressive. But these gray area issues from an ownership point of view, from an enforcement of rights, to what happens if somebody infringes on my work, these are the main hotbed issues that are circling AI right now, that it's going to have its moment of reckoning very, very soon. But what I've told people is, why risk it? You can use it to play around with, but don't use it as the avenue to monetize or to create some type of commercial activity as a result of it, because that could put you in the middle of a lawsuit that is unnecessary. And then you have to ask yourself the big question, how deep are my pockets? And then the rest is history.
Don't replace yourself. How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's really important to point out, you don't know where some of this information is coming from. Recently, we've had this uproar on social media because different AI art generating programs created artwork and left the watermark from Getty Images and from some of these other places. Now they're in lawsuits. Now they're dealing with all of these things, but we don't know where some of these pieces of information are coming from to create something that we could then potentially use commercially and end up in a lot of trouble. Is it worth it? It really depends. You really have to think that one through before you do it.
Man, Cam, I would have sworn you're a lawyer, because it depends is like the most common answer that every lawyer says.
I've been hanging out with you too much, Tony. If you guys love this conversation, we talk about AI and legal stuff for business on my YouTube channels all the time. And now I'm starting to sound like him. So it's got to be good.
Maybe I'm AI. Maybe you just didn't know it all this time.
That would explain it.
Oh, God. That's amazing. All right. So let's jump into the next question. So let me see here. So some content creators follow a specific workflow to get more out of the content they create. And AI is a big part of the process, right? For example, getting the transcript of the live stream and running it through an AI to get the highlights and summary. In what other ways can content creators incorporate AI into their processes?
I think it's really important to make sure that we're paying attention to the workflows that we are creating, because that's going to save us time and effort. So using AI intelligently is going to then further that content creation in a way that requires less stress from us and less work from us. So making sure that we are leveraging the power of how we can be doing this legally to do something like transcribing our live streams is going to save us a ton of time and effort. Now we can take that transcription and we have the ability to use it for blog articles, for our social media content. We can take the exact word for word from what we said from our live stream. If it sounded amazing, transcribe it, and then take that and use it as an Instagram caption. We could even use this as a way to create another script for another video. Let's say you said something really well on a live stream, but you want to make it a TikTok, but it's kind of on the long side. Take the transcription, whittle out some of the things that you don't need anymore so it's more condensed, and then turn it into your TikTok script and say word for word what you want to say without having to type it all out for yourself and figure out what you're going to say, because you already had that concise word flow that you were using in that live stream. So you can take the transcription and use it in many different ways. You can even turn it into a newsletter that you're sending out to your audience, or take a section of it send it out in your newsletter as a teaser for the replay of your live stream. We can then use it, like I was talking about before, to put it in a program like Descript, where it's going to transcribe it for you and you can change those words. You can find those clips that you want to use on your social media. You have the ability to really create a workflow that's going to allow you to come up with your topic ideas very quickly so that you can create your content quickly, so that you can fix your content quickly, so that you can repurpose your content quickly.
That's me. Descript. Ooh, I love it.
One other thing I was going to say is I could see AI useful in a situation where you're providing commentary. So like in my case, yes, I teach IP, but I also have my Instagram and TikTok accounts where I talk about these issues quite commonly. And I break down these legal issues just as I'm doing it here. So why not use the AI software as the basis for criticism or commentary, which is the heart of, let's say, fair use doctrine right there. I think that educating people on AI, its usefulness, very similar to what we're doing right here. I think talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly with this type of software is a great way to inform people, because replace AI last year with, let's say, NFTs. NFTs became like the thing that everybody and their mother talked about last year. And now it's like the bubble kind of popped, did a light pop. It wasn't so big, but it's still out there in the ether, but not as hot as it was last year with Bored Ape Yacht Club and NBA Top Shot and all these other NFT collections out there. But now AI is the thing. It's what everybody is talking about. And with it present all these amazing but features, but great issues at play here. Obviously the capabilities that it has. I noticed that in comments, some people are saying that they use it for, creating a summary from a transcript. These are really good, valid uses of AI software. But then you have to play a little devil's advocate at the end of the day. You also have to think to yourself, when I'm not doing it for those purposes and I'm doing it for something else where I'm asking the AI software to do the work for me, you have to put on the copyright hat. You have to put on the legal hat, because what you don't want, again, is for somebody to come after you for a lawsuit and allege that you infringed on their copyright. Cam mentioned it. There's a lawsuit that Getty Images has brought to the High Court of London against, I think they're called, I'm blanking on the name, but they're an AI company that's also based in London, that you ask it to create software, you ask it to create AI generated artwork, and it literally pulled photos from Getty with the very prominent Getty watermark and reworked it as its own, to the extent that it was a reworking anyway.
Oh, wow.
It doesn't meet the definition of fair use. There was no manipulation or creative transformation whatsoever. It's infringement. It's a blatant infringement. There was nothing creative about them. The Verge actually did a very good article kind of breaking down and showing samples of these types of photos that it pulled from Getty. So, again, I feel like I'm talking in a circle, but we're really beating the point here, which is that AI is great, but for the complications and the issues from a copyright point of view, because it's such a great area with so many ramifications that could ensue if you're not playing your cards right.
Just don't be the first one on
you don't want to be the first
page.
Right? Yeah.
Woo. Oh my God. All right. I do have another question, but I'm going to leave this one for the end because I got both of you here, which is great. Amazing. I love the conversation, the back and forth. But I want to make sure that people have the opportunity to sign up to Be Live for free. Here's the link. The link will be placed in the chat. So all you got to do is just click on it and try it out. It's pretty cool. We do have AI too, so just in case. All right. So implications of using AI in content creation. I'm going to start with you, Tony, on this questions, but and please, KM, jump in. You guys have a chemistry already, so yeah, this is pretty cool. I love it.
You should see the bloopers whenever we record our videos.
I saw your last video, both of you. Yeah. I knew exactly what to do. It's like, yeah.
So some of the issues that we should be mindful of, and I addressed them earlier, when you use anything that is from a software company that offers AI software, reading carefully the terms of service are going to be a very important part of the process. So understanding when you agree to a membership, let's say I were to go on to OpenAI which is the parent company, I believe, for ChatGPT and Dolly. If I go in and I sign up using my Google account, going to the terms of service allows me to understand what am I exactly consenting to. Because right there in the terms of service, which we all glance over. I mean, does anybody remember once upon a time when we were like 10 years old and we downloaded The Sims and we didn't care about reading the 60 pages of the terms of service? We just wanted to start, typing in the cheat code Rosebud and then all the semicolons so we could get stacked up, sim dollars. I cheated the system. I didn't
actually know that. Oh my God.
So, when you go through those terms of service, it lays out all the legal provisions.
Mhm.
And sometimes you may unknowingly accept certain terms that put you on the hook for certain things. So, for example, if let's say I were to sign up for an OpenAI account, and part of the terms of service said that I have to indemnify, OpenAI in any claims related to copyright infringement, that's a problem.
Big
Because
word.
now, at that point, that means that if OpenAI is personally served with a lawsuit for copyright infringement because its software generates artwork, that means that OpenAI can go against anybody that has ever opened an account and used their software to generate artwork on that platform. That potentially could be copyright infringement worthy. So that's why, yes, maybe sometimes reading through those terms of service may be tedious, but just with new software like this, where it truly is open-ended with no room for like any past case study to look at, essentially,
Yeah.
you really have to scrutinize every letter
Novel.
and every line.
Novel. Straight up novel.
Exactly. So I would say reading the terms of service is going to be key. In the mix of that, you're also going to have to see, when you generate artwork, who becomes the copyright owner. And I think understanding that at this point in time, the U.S. Copyright Office will not accept any registrations for any artwork, any photos, or anything else that is stemming or coming from AI. So that means if you made AI generated music, even, that's still not going to get you copyright protection, because right now the Copyright Office is strictly enforcing this human authorship requirement. Now, could that change? Maybe. The only way that's going to change is if the Copyright Act is amended by Congress, or if the U.S. Copyright Office puts out some type of new notice that then changes the landscape of copyright enforcement and registrations at that point. But for now, we don't have that. And so why waste your time going through all that labor and all that work when you're going to waste your time getting that copyright registration application in, only to get denied at the door. So be mindful of all those legal issues. I mean, there's a slew of other issues at play here. What type of AI software are you using? Is it invoking somebody else's copyright rights? I would say right now, because of how complex it is, the use of AI should be more for leisurely and personal reasons and for research purposes, as opposed to using that as the mechanism to make something. So, maybe KM could use AI generated artwork to inspire her to make the next cover for her new book, but she can't now take that AI generated artwork and use that as a cover for her book, because she's not going to get protection for that whatsoever. The storyline, yes, but it's the registration of that art cover is just not. There's nothing going to happen there. It's not going to happen.
Unless the robots take over.
I don't know. That's the extent of any robot voicing it. I don't know. We'll figure it out at some time. Also, shout out to Michelle Newman. I'm glad you're enjoying the conversation.
Oh God. What about Cam? What are your
I think it's really important to point out that, as Tony said, when you're using any of these applications, you are agreeing to their terms of service, which you have to read through. We don't like it, but we have to. And if it's something that you do not understand, if you do not have the capability to understand the words, if you cannot do the research to understand it yourself, it's important for you to go to a lawyer and have that explained to you. You're in charge of your business. You're the sole person responsible for the success or failure of your business. And if you get in trouble, what are you going to do? You cannot risk your business for saving a little bit of time and effort, for doing something that makes you feel good or feel popular or feel trendy. You're the one who has to be responsible for this. And so You either need to not do it if you don't understand it and you aren't entirely sure that it is safe for you to do, or you need to hire an attorney to go over it and make sure that you are aware of your rights and the potential downfalls of participating in using those particular apps.
That is
One
so
thing I
true.
wanted to add also to that point, just because it just popped in my head, I realized I never really gave the definition of copyright, or indirectly, but copyright, as it's defined, it's an original work of authorship, fixed and a tangible medium of expression. The three series of buzzwords that everybody should pay attention to with that definition is originality, fixation, and works of authorship. Fixation just means that it has some type of permanence. So if I decided to take, a piece of paper right here and I draw a stick figure where, it's very simple, that drawing itself is the fixation. The pen to paper creates that fixation because there's some type of permanence. And works of authorship, come in the form of film, television show, artwork, sculptures, anything of that sort. But originality, I really want to pay particular attention to in the context of AI, because under copyright law, there is an extremely low threshold for originality. You could be the world's biggest idiot and somehow could create something original in the context of copyright law. So yes, my stick figure itself may be unoriginal because how many stick figures are out there in the world? But if I drew a mustache and drew a cap on it that said dunce on the top, that itself could warrant copyright protection. That in the eyes of the law, that's original enough.
I'll
Now,
buy it.
taking that and paralleling that to AI lacks that originality, and that's because it lacks human creativity. It's basing off of other people's or other information, but that other information itself is not the human creative element that is part of. It's almost like the bridge that connects to originality and copyright, if that makes any sense. So it's so complicated with all these little webs, but you can see the connection to all of it. It one cannot exist without the other. It's a cause and effect issue here, and that's the problem why AI enters into such dangerous territory when you're talking about copyright ownership, enforcement, infringement, all of the stuff with related to copyright.
This is so interesting. So originality is really what they're pulling from to make the case that AI it's not really can't copyright it, basically.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
exactly.
All right, let's keep on moving. This is I can spend hours.
This might be the best Be Live discussion in
What?
2023, maybe.
Oh my God.
Sorry, I don't mean to my own horn.
No,
Okay,
it's really good stuff.
Okay.
Ooh. So could using AI for content creators lead to potential liabilities or legal problems? I think you already glanced over that, so we can jump to the next question. So going back to different types of AI writing assistants versus AI image generators, which one should content creators be more careful about using?
So I think that they should both be on the radar as like number one. They're tied at one. So the main issue with writing assistants is, again, if you're using ChatGPT to ask it to generate, let's say, a license agreement template, you have to ask yourself, where is it pulling that information from that is the template, the basis of that template? I feel like for the most part, license agreements are all going to be similar, right? But let's say we're in a license agreement, but let's say you asked it to write a hero novel, kind of in the style of Joseph Scott Campbell or whatever. Again, you're getting into a very murky territory because you wonder, where is it getting its information or its source? AI image generators, kind of the same story. And we're seeing that play out with this Getty lawsuit against this AI software company out there. It's the bottom line is nobody is immune from an issue here. Everybody is there. All these AI companies and all these AI software generators have such exceptional capabilities, but you can't help but question where is it getting its source from. It's not like it's organically creating all this out of the ether or making something out of it. That's impossible. Even just saying something as simple to DALL-E as make me an oil painting in the style of Van Gogh of a rat eating pizza. I mean, it still has to get an image of what a rat looks like. The software is not going to know itself what a rat looks like, or even what pizza looks like. What's that?
Ratatouille.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. Which, by the way, I think the only reason why I mentioned rat and pizza is because maybe some of the people in the comments know, but there was this whole thing that New York City had. The mayor had a whole press conference where are now waging war against the rats here in New York, and one of the people said, "Rats are not our friends. This is not Ratatouille." So I guess I made that very clear. And I think like 7 years ago or so, there was a viral video that went viral of a rat literally sliding down the staircase in one of our subway stations. I think it was 42nd Street with a massive slice of pizza in its mouth and walking away with it. Pizza Rat, the birth of Pizza Rat. But yeah, no, this is just a very it's really 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 complicated because I think nobody can dismiss what AI can do for a lot of people. And let me frame it this way: from a legal point of view, the ethical issues are one thing, but what it could do to help people who are in a disadvantaged position could be amazing. I often think about, when I was, when I was working in a domestic violence clinic when I was in law school. I think about women who were victims of domestic violence and they didn't know how to seek legal help. And they went to associations like the Sanctuary for Families, which is where I worked, domestic violence clinics to seek that help. Let's say they had lower level issues like their landlord's kicking them out and their rights are violated as a tenant or something. Going to ChatGPT and maybe getting some information for people like them who otherwise wouldn't have that information readily accessible. It opens up really really amazing doors. So I can't knock what it's capable of doing. It certainly creates this addresses this gap among lower economic driven communities, families. Certainly allows them to have as much of an opportunity to be a part of the conversation in resolving issues as opposed to being a victim of these issues. But beyond that aspect of it, the innovation and what it can do to help people, we're still not addressing the main issue here, which is the legal and ethical issues at play here.
Yeah.
And I feel like I know I've said it over and over, but it's the copyright world and the IP world, generally speaking, is going to have its moment of reckoning. I think this year, certainly next year, and we're going to have to address it head on. We just can't keep skirting around the issue. Congress can't keep just like dismissing the fact that the Copyright Act right now is perfectly flawless. I mean, we haven't even talked about this for the purposes of this conversation, but there are issues with the Copyright Act because for the third time in 20 years, the issue of fair use in copyright is going before the Supreme Court of the United States. Also, there's a lack of definition in the Copyright Act for choreographic works, and you have Black TikTok creators who have been severely disadvantaged because their choreographic works have not been credited whatsoever, and people are taking it as their own. And not to mention the Copyright Office has given no guidance on how to protect choreographic works, and that's because the Copyright Act has no guidance on that whatsoever. You have to go through two persuasive authorities: the compendium from the Copyright Office and a House report from when the Copyright Act of 1976 was passed for any guidance on this type of thing. I'm just saying that to highlight how copyright law, from a bigger picture, is so flawed. But imagine now, maybe this will all change because of all the issues that are going to stem from AI. So
one question, really quick before going to you, Cam. So the AI writing assistant is basically doing the same thing that you would do on the internet. You will scour probably the internet or wherever it goes to, right? If you want to do a license agreement, because humans do this as well as probably the AI, they go and get a template. And they try to write something similar, right? And then come up with an original license agreement. So is that what we're talking about here? Is this the same thing? Obviously, ChatGPT has its own database, but from where did they get that information to have that big of a database anyways? So I think that's where we're right in the middle, right? Trying to figure out how, where, when they got this information, original information to their servers, and then they can write original content for you. So
no, I think obviously the capabilities that AI generated writing assistants can do it is impressive.
Okay.
But you're right. I mean, you have to think to yourself, where is it pulling this information? Because these aren't internet-based softwares. Yes, you go on the internet to get access to them, but it could be a replacement for Google, but it's not Google itself.
Exactly.
It has its own mechanism and capabilities. And
Came
actually,
from
it's
somewhere.
interesting we're talking about this because something kind of came up. I think there was a Forbes article with I don't remember the company. Getty, the AI software company that Getty is suing is called, I think, Sapphire AI. So Sapphire, the CEO for Sapphire was interviewed by Forbes, and he basically talked about how it's pulling images from the internet to then create these softwares. I mean, if you have the
Wow.
CEO implicating that their company is committing copyright infringement like that so blatantly in an article from Forbes, not like this isn't like like the Sacramento Bee or some no-name newspaper. This is the Forbes.
That was his lawyers.
I mean, yeah, exactly. That's like calling card for like, hey, come sue me. It's like written across his forehead right now. So you really, really, really have to be so careful with these software, the software out there, because it's great, it's wonderful for research purposes, for any other kind of like to spark interest or information. It is impressive, but when you're starting to use that as the main tool to make something out of it, you're going to get into a really, really big issue at that point.
True that. Whatever you can.
I think when it comes to this conversation, it's less a conversation about what do we need to be more careful about, and just realizing it's what is more provable for copyright infringement. You're probably going to be more likely to be able to point at an image with sections from Getty Images as a copyright infringement rather than writing as a copyright infringement, because how much can you actually push that it was not taken from those websites? I think it's less about what you need to be most careful about, because you have to be careful of all of it, and more of a conversation of what's going to get you caught more easily.
I know, right?
Yeah.
All right. So, what trends do you see in the next few years in using AI for content creation?
Well, I'll tell you right now, the Thaler case that's in the District of Columbia, DC, DC District Court rather, that case will be very, very monumental in laying out at least our first ounce of case law on what copyright law is going to regard AI artwork as. Is it a thief, or is it a friend to the copyright community? That likely is not going to go well for Dr. Thaler, so he's probably going to appeal that, and we could see one day that issue going before the Supreme Court, which I hope it does, because I think that could, yes, the Supreme Court could,
Tension.
it may not necessarily be learned on the IP matters entirely, but at least the Supreme Court is the highest court in the land that could help rule and give some guidance on that. But two, I think that the next trends you're going to probably see are new AI software developers out there doing it the right way, which is that they're going to find ways of making this type of software that will not infringe other copyright. So maybe the way it'll do it is it will naturally create royalty-free images and use that as the basis to build a massive library or database that could create AI-generated artwork. So you can't ask it to do a photo of Mickey Mouse hitting the bong, but you could certainly ask it maybe to do a rat holding up a slice of pizza, because maybe that software would have created a royalty-free, or that software will contain a royalty-free image of a rat and a royalty-free image of pizza, and somehow the algorithm can do the rest of the work. And I think the final trend, I think, is hopefully we can get some type of more formal guidance from the U.S. Copyright Office of where their stance is on AI. Right now, it's kind of loosey-goosey, where it's just more addressing the human authorship requirement, but it hasn't directly addressed that AI is incapable of being an owner, and here's why. I hope that comes out in the future. You'll probably see this same issue with other aspects of intellectual property, with patents, maybe with trademarks, but as it stands right now, AI is waging war with copyright, and that's what we need more answers on than anything else.
Word. Right, Cam, what about you?
Well, I think very much in the same vein, we are going to see people pulling back because of all the legal ramifications. And then we're going to see a rise of these AI generation programs doing it the right way. And I hope that what we're going to see is the ability for content creators to license their content to be used to then create this new content, creating a revenue stream for people who can input their blog articles, their photos, their videos to then use to inform the AI to be able to generate this new content. I'm seeing subscription models in the future for people who are using it. I am seeing payments for people who are inputting their content to be used to inform the other content. I would love to see the rise of a creator relationship that respects all of the parties involved, but still gives unique-ish content to the people who are then using these platforms. So fingers crossed for that. We'll see how it plays out.
I know, right? All right. Wow, that was an amazing answer. So, what are the key takeaways when using AI to create digital content, especially in the live streaming space?
Cam, I'll let you go first.
Be careful. Be very, very careful when you are using any AI to create inside of the live streaming space. We want to make sure you're legally protected, and we don't want you to be involved in court cases when everything hits the fan. We've got to be very careful and very intuitive about how we're using it right now. So what can you do to help inspire your content, not create your content? What can you use to level up your content without infringing on someone else's rights? I want you to specifically be using this for inspiration's sake and to be able to do things that will benefit you off of the content you have created, like transcriptions, like being able to correct your voice in the content that you are creating. Use it on a scale to help your production level, but do not do anything that can come back to bite you, especially if you've indemnified the companies that you are working with.
Yeah, everything she said. I co-sign that entirely.
Nailed it.
All right. So I got one more thing, which is the question that we had first in your first 5 questions, KM. So what's your final advice to people that are new to AI assistants, and would you convince them to use AI? Why or why not?
Tony, you want to start?
I mean, I think the main thing is to just tread lightly. It's I think Cam's last statement was pretty clear that if you're using it for research purposes or as a source of inspiration for your ideas to spark your creativity, that's really where the line should be drawn in using AI. It's such an unregulated system right now. We don't have this almost is reminding me a lot of how we were back in 2013 with cryptocurrency, where we just didn't know, like, oh my gosh, this is a decentralized way of making money. This is a new type of currency. What is this? And over time, we've learned over the years that cryptocurrency could be a secured transaction or a specific type of asset. And to the point that, certain banks have become all in on it. And you have platforms like Coinbase that are the equivalent of like a Robinhood, where you can make money off of certain cryptocurrencies and self trade and do whatever you want with that money. But it took time to get to that point.
Yeah.
And I think that right now this is this weird infancy phase of artificial intelligence where it's been around, but the way it just blew up entirely has just been insane. Like it's crazy. At the start of 2022, nobody was talking about it. And then all of a sudden, right before the new year, everybody is going onto that app, I forgot the app, where they're doing their own AI avatars.
Yeah.
And it was like it was like an awakening of epic proportions on artificial intelligence. And then ChatGPT got 5 million followers over the span of 3 days, which is unheard of.
Yeah.
The proliferation of artificial intelligence is certainly impressive. But for anybody watching, please just be very, very careful with how you're using it, because if you're using it for the creative spark, that's one thing. But I think we've kind of beat the dead horse here. If you're using it for something else beyond that purpose, that's where the complexity of copyright law comes into play, and you may or may not indirectly be committing copyright infringement.
Don't replace yourself.
And we haven't even addressed the ownership, authorship side of it, but that's its own issue itself. So yeah, there's that.
Okay, lean in, because I've got this for you. When it comes to what Tony said, the fact that this is in its infancy, this gives us a realm of possibilities. I do not necessarily want you implementing this into your business strategy just yet. And if you are, go lightly on this. But now is the time to explore. It is the time to learn the technology, to understand the technology, to make plans for your future use of this once we understand what the legal ramifications are. Right now, while it is brand new, while people are still figuring it out, while the programs are still figuring it out, while entrepreneurs are figuring out, this is the time for you to play, to explore, to learn, to understand how you're going to be able to grow with it when the time comes. It's the wild, wild west right now. Anything goes. We're seeing all these people use this in all these different ways. And if you can innovate with this now, with a plan in mind for your future, once we understand how this is going to play out legally, you will be ahead of the game. So even if you're not using this to design your business, to run your business, to market your business right now, I want you to understand the technology, the ramifications of what is happening, because this will impact your future so significantly a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now. This is going to change how we're doing things because the technology is there and it's so innovative. And if you can innovate with it as well, you are going to be ahead of the game 5 years from now when we can actually do the things that we're dreaming of doing right now. This is your moment to get in, understand this world, to practice, to try things out, and to be mindful of how you will use it in the future. And now is the time to make sure that we're using it safely inside of our business so that when the time comes, we can blow things up with this technology.
Amazing. Wow. So here we go.
Exactly. Oh, you read my mind.
Little AI there. No joke. To finish the show with a slam. Oh my God. So before we leave, I want to make sure that people sign up for BeLive. It's free. Here's the link right here. You can put it in the comments. Just click on it, try it out. It's free. So there's, go ahead and try it out. Let me provide you guys socials. I know Cam Robinson, yours is camrobinson.com.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's another one for books as well.
Uh-huh. Yep,
So
hang
it's
out with me.
/books, right?
Yep, it's camrobinson.com for all things social media marketing and camrobinsonbooks.com for all things author life.
Amazing. And for Tony, I got his socials here as well, which is Instagram /the IP professor. We got the same for TikTok and for YouTube as well. So
the IP professor on
IP
all
professor.
platforms.
It's really easy. I went out there, IP professor. Your first three, that's TikTok, it's Instagram, and then it's YouTube, which is really cool. I put @ first, so that's really good way to get them.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. This has been really, really amazing.
Yeah, this is wonderful. And thank you to everybody who chimed in the comments. It sounded like everybody found value in this conversation.
I want to put a comment up though. So I tried AI once and helped me start it on a blog post. Came out like an Onion article. That was so funny. Oh, I love the Onion. I read it sometimes. And yeah, it keeps me entertained. So
I guess
thanks
it's
so much,
creative. I guess we could say that AI software is creative enough to write an Onion article. So there you go.
That's really
There's
cool.
something there.
That is really cool. All right, guys. So thank you so much, guys, for being here with me. This has been an amazing show. And as I always say, you can come here anytime you want. There's an open invite to here or to my YouTube channel or any of my platforms as well. So thank you so much. And we're going to go out with a little bit of music, hopefully a little bit better than the other one, right? So there we go.
No robot voices this time.
I know, right? All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Goodbye.
See ya.